Well, we're back onto Memorial Day, where we honor those that have fallen in the line of duty to serve our country. You see, freedom is never free, and it always has a cost to it. And some of those pay the cost, the ultimate sacrifice, with their lives. So, for all of you that have family members that have, and all those in the past, we cannot thank you enough. So, I want to start today's show with something that I found, this short little clip that went on next today, and to have a moment of silence for all those that have paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that we enjoy, because freedom is never free. You know, it's something that we often take for granted, and it's not. Hopefully, that we all appreciate how much we have, that we are alive in this time of age right now. That there has never been a greater time to be alive. That nobody, regardless of your background, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your history, has had more opportunity than there is in the United States right now. That you take so well, we can take so much for granted that we can go across the world in a matter of days, that we can connect with anybody in the world in a matter of seconds, that we have access to the world's knowledge, something that many have begged for and not received, yet we have it here. This is truly something that is, I hope that everybody goes and they appreciate what they have now here in the United States, as we fight the Democrats who are trying to take that away from you with the helps of the Uniparty and putting America last, also that they can have power to control every aspect of your life. And when Donald Trump came back, he did something that was never supposed to happen again. Is that the one thing that the Uniparty, the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, who I call the abyss, the beast from the abyss, they never thought that they would ever see Trump come back. They were scared to death that some billionaire populist would stop them from completing their communist revolution. And make no mistake about this for a second. If Kamala Harris had won in 2024, that's exactly where it'd be. They were one election away from taking away your free speech, from taking away your guns, and then taking away the rest of your rights. That was what the entire Biden administration, whoever is actually controlling the Biden administration, who actually was signing with the Autopan, that was what their ultimate goal was. Then when Biden fell out, they then tried to replace it with Kamala Harris. And fortunately, Donald Trump stood up and fought. Because it would have been really easy for him just to say, you know what, screw this. It's not worth it. I mean, he's a multi-billionaire. He was a New York Democrat, if you can believe it, for most of his life. But like most of the Democrats who've been lied to about who the Democrats actually were, he started to realize they weren't putting America first, that they were trying to destroy all the freedoms and joys that we had in this country. And this has changed everything in American politics in a way that I have never seen before. I mean, I don't know if most generations would ever see this kind of administration change. Usually when you have these superpowers, what happens is they go up and they get really powerful and strong in the world. And then slowly over time, they crumble. But what happens, ironically, is most of the time they don't crumble from the outside. They crumble from the inside through corruption. As we have been seeing, as they've been sending our manufacturing overseas and opening up our borders, and then getting more and more taxes, and this giant federal government continues to grow and really corrupt everything that our people who have fought for our country and who died and bled for fought against. You know, it wasn't that long ago when the one thing that at least we could all agree on, whether you were Democrat or you were Republican, is that communism was bad. Yet the Democrats now, that seems to be the only thing that they're pushing for. And I think it's really for a very simple human understanding that for the Democrats, communism is their path to permanent power. See, they look at you as you're in the way, that your freedoms stop them from ruling over you. And so they've been working for a very long time to usurp and undermine your freedoms. And the two main ways they do this is one, by taxing you to death. As the Democrats, they like to pretend that they're for the workers or they're for, America. But really what they do every time they have power, what happens? Your taxes go up, inflation gets higher, and then they send more and more jobs overseas and they grow the federal government. And now that Donald Trump is back, this has put the biggest hitch I think they've ever seen that they never thought would happen. And to our military, too, that they're finally, Donald Trump is putting our military first. They're putting people in like Hegseth in, who's getting rid of all this DEI, BS, and actually making merit great again. So we never have some kind of like Afghanistan withdrawal that the Biden oversaw, and then they try to pretend that it never happened when 13 service members needlessly lost their lives. You see, we are not the same. If you look at these two different administrations, just how we view America, how we view the freedoms, how we view you, the independent thinkers, and how we view the people who have served our country. And unfortunately for some who paid the ultimate price, and now their families will live on without them. But your freedoms, the blood that they pay, we must now stand up and we must continue to fight for it. Because if we don't fight these fights, then we will lose our freedoms forever. Everything that they sacrifice will be for naught. So remember photos like this, when you have one president down on his knees hugging a child, and then you have the other president who is responsible for 13 service members dying, looking at his watch when the casket's being taken off. Okay, that's the very difference between our side and their side. When we put America first and they put America last. When our veterans have suffered needlessly for a very long time, and when you have the Democrats bringing in millions and millions of illegal immigrants, putting them in hotels, putting them on food, making the VA virtually unrecognizable and unusable, until Donald Trump came back and started to change this. They also put all of you at great risk. I really think it was at this point when his Afghanistan withdrawal went horribly bad, I think that was the moment when Vladimir Putin realized, I can go into Ukraine and I can take this back for Russia. Do not doubt for a second that we don't agree with Putin and communism. And when we had Trump into the first place, it was Trump who held Putin back by peace through strength. But when Biden showed that weakness in Afghanistan, I believe that's the moment when Vladimir Putin decided he was going to go back in Ukraine and he was going to take back Ukraine, as that was the biggest piece of the puzzle that Vladimir Putin wants to rebuild the Soviet Union of the past. This also weakened by allowing all these millions of illegal immigrants into this country. And when we could be using this money for like our veterans to get them off the streets, to get them back employed, and to provide the care that they are due. Now, I've been a civilian my whole life, and I can only imagine what they've gone through when they have gone to war. I've had friends that have gone like to Afghanistan, in Iraq, and I know when they came back, even though they were still my friends, they were never the same anymore. There was just something that was different about them. Even like 4th of July, as we celebrate our independence of our country, it's still hearing all those explosions. I can remember my friends just jumping and shaking at them, and it's caused irreparable harm. So we as a country, we should be thanking the ones who serve our country, and to go into to make sure that our freedoms are here, and that we're not going to do this transgender crap in our military. We're going to make merit great, because that's really what the military is for. The military is there to break things and to protect our freedoms, to be at the call, that hopefully we never ever have to use them, that we all enjoy peace. But if we need to, that they will be the biggest, deadliest force in the world, and make sure that America wins, so that our sovereignty for future generations perseveres. And the Biden administration and the Democrats and the rhinos that are helping them have done everything in their power to make this harder for our veterans. It's just wasting money on illegals, leaving our borders wide open, and allowing, like we had with Russia, and we had all the problems in the Middle East, and you have China getting more and more bold. The amount of problems that we face in just 4 years because of Biden's incompetence is almost astonishing. If you start to go through and think about it and list it all, it's almost unbelievable that much happened in such a short amount of time. And then you have the Democrats who caused all this, who caused the problems that we face again, that they're now trying to pretend that they're pro-America and men and women in the military on this one day. Oh, you remember from last year when they were trying to write all their fake virtue signaling messages? You remember like people like Ilhan Omar, when she got the message backwards, when she got Veterans Day confused with Memorial Day, and the Democrats were all thanking veterans without realizing that, no, this is the people that are no longer veterans because they paid the ultimate price. Well, now it looks like at least some of them have gotten back on the bandwagon. But listen to Barack Obama's message and see if you can read through the lines here, because I find this truly staggering. So this is Barack Hussein Obama as he writes in, on Memorial Day, we remember the sacrifices that are, so this is the key, men and women in uniform and their families have made to preserve our freedom. May we always strive to honor the strength and resolve that they showed our country. Okay, that's Barack Hussein Obama. Now, I'm glad he's admitting that there's only men and women. Don't the Democrats cancel people for that? Right? I mean, what about all those 72 other genders or the 300 other genders? Right? What about all the other pronouns? I don't remember him using any pronouns there. I mean, isn't all the left offended right now? I mean, what about the transgenders that are getting kicked out of the military? Where's Barack Hussein Obama's message for them? What about all the gays or lesbians? What about LGBTQA plus minus tilde? Who knows what else they're coming up with from day to day to day to day? This is why the Democrats are so unpopular. Is because they fake virtue signal like this, trying to pretend on Memorial Day like they're checking a box. Thank you for all the people who served our country. That on itself would be good if they're actually being honest. But tomorrow they will go right back to who they really are, and trying to take down our country from the inside, and complaining that when the military is what's supposed to do is break things, instead of that it's not being inclusive, and that it's not doing the 75 million other who knows how many other genders out there. I mean, can the Democrats even give a number? Right? How many she, hers, it's, that's, they, ze, zai, zo, zoo, knows different genders and ideologies that the Democrats try to pretend that there are. I don't know about you, but I'm personally offended that Barack Hussein Obama or the rest of the Democrats, when their fake virtue signal, didn't include them in their virtual signaling. I mean, doesn't that make you offended and angry that they would leave them out? And then on top of that, to this whole insane thing is you have Pelosi, who doesn't let vodka age at all, has decided that she is going to go on and she's going to decide that Joe Biden should be on Mount Rushmore. Oh my God, for what? Is there much argument against saying that Joe Biden might be the worst president, at least in modern times, but maybe ever in the history of the United States? I mean, how many people would argue against that fact? If Biden was even president, as we find out now, is he had cancer and they're trying to lie and pretend that they don't know when it was. And then you have Tapper in his books, and they're trying to pretend that the White House, the Biden administration, lied to fake news when they were perfectly happy to go along with all of it. I say fake news earned every single viewer that they have lost, and why they have no influence left. And when they continue to lie, as we have many clips loaded up for you today, they are getting exactly what they deserve. As freedom is never free. And to all those who have lost service members in their families, the husbands, wives, sons, daughters, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, we just can never thank you enough for your service, and that you paid the ultimate price so that we can be free, so I can sit here with a camera and a microphone and talk about politics with our First Amendment right being protected by their sacrifice. So I thank you a lot. And with that, I'm looking at the clock. I'm actually going to go on break for once on time. And when we come back, We have a lot more to break down as we talk about fake news, lying for Democrats. You're not going to miss that and anything else after we come back from this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show. Well, CNN and fake news has had to learn more and more lessons every single day that they continue to just have to just eat their own words, but they continue to learn no lessons as they go, and they move forward with the same old hoaxes that they have always ran. And on this one today, they are blown away because not only did Donald Trump come back, not only did Donald Trump, he continued to gain in every single demographic, I believe except Black women. Not only has he become more and more popular, but now fake news is realizing this wasn't just a one-off like they had hoped. See, fake news had thought that they would just, okay, Trump won. Now we're going to do what we always do. We're going to attack him, and we're going to weaken him and bring his administration down to his knees. And then once we have done that, we will then bring the Democrats back in power and prove how bad MAGA was. But it has failed spectacularly through their egg hoaxes, through the economy hoaxes, through the stock market hoaxes, one hoax after another. You remember the signals hoax, and we're going to be talking a lot about that, as they have continued to fail over and over again. And as their audience continues to shrink and as they lose more and more influence, this is ultimately what they deserve because it's on their own faults. As I, your host, Cash Loren, we shine the red beacon of truth through the Democrats and fake news fog of lies and hoaxes, as we will go through and we'll show. And so this is CNN, and this is Dana Bash, as she is trying to cope with fake news, losing all their influence, but they again come to all the wrong conclusions.
6 months since the 2024 election, and Democrats are still picking up the pieces. But what's becoming clear is that the 2024 race was not a one-off. Voters have been shifting toward President Trump in the last 3 presidential elections. Yes, even when Joe Biden won in 2020. Look at this analysis from the New York Times. These are counties that moved toward President Trump in each election he was on the ballot. There are 1,433 of them. And now, look at this. Here is the really paltry by comparison map of the counties that shifted towards Democrats in the last 3 presidential cycles. Only 57 counties.
I love that moment when fake news actually has to admit that they have lost all their influence. As you can see, Dana Bash just seething in her seat right there. She has to stare at the teleprompter and read off that fake news has lost all their influence. You remember it was Dana Bash who pre-recorded her interview with Kamala Harris and who tried to bash Donald Trump and actually got her butt handed to her. And then she did a pre-recorded interview with Kamala Harris. I think it was the first one when Kamala Harris took the over for Joe Biden. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but if I'm serving off my memory right, I believe it was the very first interview that Kamala Harris did. And Dana Bash pre-recorded it. And then just like 60 Minutes, they pre-recorded, they changed the answers, and they only provided a small bit of it. And this is really how fake news will lie to you, the American voters. Is most of the time what they don't do is they don't bald-faced lie. They won't sit there and tell you what things are very easily to prove that they're lying. What they'll do is they'll mislead you, and they'll leave out key elements that if you knew the answer, you would never come to the conclusion that they want you to come to. But because thanks to independent creators like here on the Cash Loren Show, we are able to expose them for the liars that they are. And so what they do, like what they do with Kamala Harris, is they will say, edited for time, right? Because they, just so happen to record 45-minute interview and they only have time to show 20 minutes. And so then you as the voter, you think, well, okay, this is not important stuff, or they just shorten the answers, or they didn't actually ask one question and then play a different answer with that, or completely change it all together, or leave out her stumbling and buttering and cackling, right? To if you had seen the whole thing, you would have never come to the conclusion that they wanted you to come to. See, that's how the Democrats and their hosts at fake news lie to you. And even after 24, as you just saw on CNN, as they're showing, they have still learned no lessons from what happened to them then to what's happening to them now. Because they still think that they can sit in front of a teleprompter and lie to you, the American voters. And if that wasn't enough, watch how when they're asked about their panel after this montage, after she goes on and she says, well, I just don't understand how Donald Trump is getting more popular when we've been telling people to hate Donald Trump for 11 years now. So listen to our panel at all the wrong conclusions they come to, and then never wonder again why fake news has no influence or why the Democrats are somehow in the 20th percentile.
There is a widespread recognition that there has to be fundamental change in approach and even governing strategy in majority Democratic communities led across the country by Democrats. But also, when you speak to members like Jasmine Crockett, for instance, which I have, she'll say that if Democrats ever do regain power, they have to be more bold, that the rules of engagement have changed.
They have to be more bold. I say I agree. I 100% agree with that statement. You know what they should do? They should put Jasmine Crockett in front of a camera with David over and over and over again and never let them shut up. Really, they should just do it on a 24/7 loop. Every clip they can find, play it, thinking that this is working towards the American voters. Please, Democrats, please learn nothing. Please let Jasmine Crockett sit there and yell and scream and complain and then wonder why they're becoming even more and more unpopular as the Democrat Party implodes from the inside. And then the propagandists on fake news, whether it be CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, political Axios, every single one of them are Team Democrat. They are all in the bag for the DNC. And when they go through all these hoaxes that they need to be more bold, what are they actually talking about? They're trying to take back to the House. Why? So they can lock down the Trump administration with impeachments and with investigations and try to run out the clock in the last 2 years. Okay, make no doubt that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to go against your will, the American voters. Because in their minds, they can't grasp what happened. As the Democrats, they see themselves as the elites, and they see themselves as your betters. They see themselves high above you in their high, lofty ivory towers. They are smarter than you. They are better than you. They are wiser than you. I mean, they have an Ivy League degree. Do you have an Ivy League degree? Did you go to Harvard? Did you go to Yale? See, so that's how arrogant they are. And then anyone that doesn't agree with them, this is both their strength and their biggest weakness, because in their strength, they can all come together and they speak basically in unison. This is why if the Democrats have 51 senators, all 51 vote down party lines. Unlike the Republicans, who you have them going all over the place, because we also seem to attract the independent thinkers. And so why that is in some ways one of our strengths is also our weakness, is we have a harder time coming down the party lines to get things done as we go on with like Doge, for example, and Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. However, on the Democrat side, this also is their weakness, because then anyone that doesn't agree with them, they think, well, it's their fault, right? If you don't think the way that they tell you to think, see, because they don't think it's their job to report the news or to give facts and let you come up with your own mind. No, not the Democrats. Not a chance. They think it's their job as the elites, as your betters, that they are there to tell you what to do and what to think. That's the Democrats in a nutshell. And when that doesn't work, then what they don't think is they don't think it's us. You know, even after the big loss in 2024, as we're playing through CNN here, they don't think, well, maybe it's me. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we should stop lying to voters. If maybe we started telling the truth for once, then maybe more people will come back to our side. See, this is how they lost, like the Elon Musks, the RFKs, the Tulsi Gabbards, even Donald Trump. Donald Trump used to be a New York Democrat, believe it or not. His path is very similar to Ronald Reagan, who also used to be a California Democrat, until they realized just how commie these people are. And now they realize that they look around, they say, well, I'm kind of in the middle like most of you. There are some issues I'm sure you agree with the Republican Party on. there's some issues that you agree with the Democrats on, or at least what you thought was the Democrat Party. Right? But most people, a vast majority, are in the middle somewhere. And it just depends on what issue you're talking to them about. Right? Most people just want to go to work. They want to collect their paychecks, spend time with their families, and enjoy the free time that they have. But for the Democrats, that's not good enough because they think that you have to be all in. And so they've decided that they're right, they're your betters, and they're going to tell you how to think and what to feel. And if you don't agree with them, then you're the problem. So they kept pushing people out of their party. They'd call them a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe or white nationalist or an extreme MAGA Republican. And their goal is they don't believe any of that. They don't even care. All that really is for is trying to tell you to shut up and to shame you into submission for their side of the aisle. But that has backfired tremendously because as they've done that, they've been losing voters over time. As voters have been going back to the middle, and then in the middle, they're looking around going, well, I kind of want to side with somebody, but I've considered myself a Democrat my whole life, but I don't know about this transgender thing. I thought we were for women's rights. I mean, weren't the Democrats for the women? Until voters realized the Democrats weren't for women at all. They were just for abortion, of killing these innocent poor babies drunk on the blood of the innocent. And then the Democrats started allowing biological males into women's sports. And let me tell you something that should be very clear in politics, if you pay attention for any time. Okay, there is nothing that will cause a parent to cross party lines faster than protecting their children. Nothing. Even the most liberal of women, when they see their daughter get beaten upside the head by a biological male, or a volleyball gets spiked into their teeth and knocked unconscious, even the most liberal of women all of a sudden will think, I can't go along with this. I mean, I'm certainly not with the Republican Party, but I can't vote for this. And then you'll have the same thing with illegal immigration. Right? Most of America, virtually everybody, wants some form of legal immigration. But the Democrats try to combine it all together into one single package and say that, you have to allow all illegal immigrants into this country. And then most Americans, I don't agree with this. There's drugs coming across. There's human trafficking coming across. We don't know who these people are. They're coming in, they're taking over apartment buildings. Drugs, crime, murder, all this stuff is going up. Something needs to be done. And the Democrats, well, you're a racist because you want to deport people. When even CNN had to admit, this was not too long ago when they ran their own fake news poll. And we always say to take these fake news polls with a grain of salt because that's what they are. They're virtually fake. They're not there to inform opinion. Most of them are there to manipulate opinions. However, when it's so bad that even the fake news polls agree with our side and say that virtually, I think it was 56% of voters that they polled said that they want 100% of illegal immigrants deported from this country. Fake news poll, CNN. Is there a single issue? We can just go down the list. I mean, is there a single issue that the Democrats are on the right side that the majority of Americans agree on? How about these activist judges trying to usurp Donald Trump's authority as the executor of the federal government? He had 80 million people, or close to 80 million people, vote for Donald Trump to be our president. Now, how many people voted for these unelected judges? The answer is 0. So they are literally trying to usurp Donald Trump's power. And then the Democrats continue to lie about the separation of powers and the constitutional crisis and the threat to our democracy. Really, it's the Democrats that are guilty of all those things. It's really ironic that every time the Democrats accuse our side of something, I swear it's because they did the crime, and that's how they come up with blaming our side for something. As most rational people will go, wait a minute, if we have separation of powers, then how can judges write national injunctions on anything? Then where is the separation of power, right? We have 3 branches of the federal government. You have Congress writes laws. You have the executive, the president, that is in charge of the federal government. He's the executor. And then you have the legislative branch that is supposed to handle individual cases. just like the judges can't write law from the bench, no more than Donald Trump can write law from the executive branch. That's reserved specifically for Congress. But we do have checks and balances. So as we do with the laws, for example, Congress writes the laws. They then go to the president's Trump desk, and Trump decides either sign it or not sign it, whoever the president is at the time. And then if he doesn't sign it, the president then decides to veto it, and then it goes back to Congress. And if Congress has enough votes, they can put the law into place regardless of the Trump's veto or the president's veto. You know, right now it's Trump, but that's separation of powers. His laws are exclusively to Congress. Presidents, judges can't write law. But we also have checks and balances in place, like the Trump signing the law or going back to Congress. Okay, Trump runs the federal government. He has exclusive rights under the Article 2 of the Constitution. And so when the Democrats, when they go and they defend these judges trying to usurp Donald Trump's authority, and they try to claim about separation of powers, yet when you ask them about it, they can't explain how the separation of powers happen, because they know the minute they do, their hoax is up. And one really easy way to ask a Democrat this is ask them if Donald Trump is the charge of the military, right? We have a non-general, right, civilian in charge of our military. So if he orders troops to move overseas, can a judge then usurp that power and write an injunction on it and say no? Obviously not. So once they admit that the judges, they have no say in our foreign policy, all of a sudden their so-called separation of power falls apart, because this was their plan from the very beginning. When they lost the election, is that I believe it was Elizabeth Warren who went on and said that they were going to try to elect as many judges as they can to try to hold Donald Trump accountable. What do they really mean is just like we're seeing now. This is the fight that we're fighting today. And the Democrats, just like all the other issues, they're on the wrong side of every single one. Yet they have learned nothing with their friends on the liberal elites, because they think that they are your betters, and they think that they get to tell you how to think, not to just provide the news, and then you come up to your own conclusion like we do here on the Cash Loren Show. Now, you may agree with my opinions. You may not agree with my opinions. Either one is fine. But I will always be honest and authentic with you and give you the whole story. Then you can choose what you agree or don't agree with. Something that the fake news should be doing. And this is why they can't grasp, as we started this segment with, is that you have over 60% of the Latinos who they think are entitled, that the Democrats think that they're entitled to, right? They thought they're going to split this country in half, that you're going to have all the bad white people, and then you're going to have all the people of color, the American version of a communist revolution, because in the Marxist communist revolution, you split a country in half, that they will have half the country or the people who have power, the people who have wealth, the people who have land. And then you have the poor people, and they try to divide them in half and then have them fight. And then the communists take over the ashes and then have permanent rule over you. Well, that didn't work here in America. And so instead what they did is they said, well, that's not going to work here. So instead, let's try to divide people by race. And why this didn't start with Barack Hussein Obama is he certainly was a big part of this. I think he took our country more to the commie left than anybody else did. And is really a Barack Hussein Obama who saw what was happening in South Africa of the people of color going against the white people to do their communist revolution. He realized that they can do it here. But it backfired because they weren't able to separate, because most people here in America, we just think differently. We think independently. And most people don't care what color your skin is. Most people don't care what your background is. Most people don't care what your race is. Most people don't care what your history is. Most people just care about, are you an American citizen? Do you love this country? Do you want to be a part of this society? Most people want safety. Most of you want to be able to walk down the street safe, the least amount of taxes, right? Go to work and enjoy your families and spend your recreational time with friends and families. See, that's what makes America different. And then you have your children, and then your children go to good schools and they learn an education that will then set them up to be successful. This is where the Democrats have lost all their influence and why they've continued to bleed voters who should be on their side, who should be in the middle, but it really still are. It's just the Democrats are so far left that they've all been moving to the right. And they learn nothing from this. Just like on this clip here, where the Democrats have realized they've lost so many voters because they're the Democrats, the ones that pushed them out of the party, are now trying to do their next host to bring them back. And I just look at the clock. I realize I'm way over. We come back, watch how fake news networks, how they are sipping for the Democrat Party again, and they have learned no lessons. And watch the Democrats are going to waste $20 million on. You're not going to miss that. We'll be back right after this break, this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show. The all-in-one solution. The Democrats and their buddies over the fake news networks continue to learn nothing as they push the same hoaxes over and over and over again, and then wondering why you, the voters, continue to move over to the right, but really to move over to the middle, because most people, that's exactly where you are. And what the Democrats have really done is that they have never changed who they are. This whole myth that the Democrats used to be on one side of the aisle, and then there was this switch someday, most people say right around JFK, is a blatant, obvious lie. What's the only thing that's really changed is that the Democrats have gained more power, and as the federal government has gained more authority over your life, that they have continued to just be more open about who they really are. So welcome back, everybody. We're going to continue to expose the Democrats and the hoaxes every single day. I'm your host, Cash Loren, your bright red light of truth through the sea of fog from the Democrats and their fake news buddies over on fake news networks. And before we play this clip, I just want to take a moment and thank everybody for your support on the show. So tonight, we have crossed 10,000 viewers live for the very first time. We've never done that before. We've had several episodes cross 10,000 over a 24-hour period. And we've even had one episode, I believe it hit over 25,000 views, but we've never hit 10K live. And so thank you, every single one of you. Your support means so much. This is why we do this. If you haven't, take a moment, hit the repost, and help us to continue to grow and share an American First message with your audience so we can defeat the communist left and make sure that the future generations, that they have all the American freedoms that we enjoy. Because Ronald Reagan was right when he says that our freedoms are not in the bloodstream. They must be fought for and they must be preserved. And if we don't do that, then we will lose them forever. And all of you who are watching this have experienced that. As go back 5 years, go back 10 years, go back more. And hey, Dale, thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. I don't think I've seen you in the comments before, but welcome to the show. And I hope you're enjoying it. And I kind of lost where my thought was for a second. And so the communist left, as they push more and more left, and as they've been more and more open about who they are, you, the American voters, are starting to realize how insane they are, that we need to fight to preserve our freedoms or lose them forever. And that's where I was. So like Ronald Reagan said, that our freedoms are not in the bloodstream. And this is why it's so important for shows like this, or anywhere where you go to get independent content creators, that they continue to speak out and we continue to fight. Because the Democrats, they were one election away from finishing the communist revolution. If Kamala Harris had won, I mean, just go back to the last 4 years under Joe Biden, when he went forward and he was talking about how they were going to use misinformation and disinformation and hate speech to take away all your rights, or how they were going to take away your guns because, why should anybody have an assault weapon? But what you notice is they always chip away, right? Okay, the end goal is to take away your free speech and to take away your guns. And once they take away those two things, the rest of your Bill of Rights go away forever, and you are never, ever getting them back. That's how these commies do it everywhere in the world. It's a huge mistake. First, to give up your weapons, and then give up your free speech. That's why we must fight now or we lose this forever. It's that straightforward. That's why I sit in front of this camera and microphone, because I think, like you, I love this country. I understand that we've never had more freedom than we have right now. There's this belief in American exceptionalism. I mean, do you feel it? Do you feel that burning, that patriotism? You're like the ones who are not with us today, as this is Memorial Day, who paid the ultimate price so that we can be free. And this is what the Democrats are trying to take away from you. And as they've done that, they've bled more and more voters, and they have lost more and more of their authenticity. And so that's what they're trying to pretend that they're trying to fight back for. And this is absolutely, it's so unbelievable, because now their next hoax out of all hoaxes is going to be authentic. I'm not even kidding that they're saying this with a straight face. That even when they say that, when they're saying that we're going to be more authentic, what they really mean is they just need to do a better job of lying to you. And then they wonder why they're somehow still in the 20 percentiles when they really should be down like the 10 percentiles. And so here's MSNBC, who is in the bag for the Democrats, as they go and they explain here in this clip.
Questions. One, let me save the folks from the Times and all the other great, print outlets some time. If you...
Okay, I got to pause right there on the New York Times and all the great other outlets. It makes me hurt. It's so bad. The New York Times and all the MSNBC, right? It's got, you can trust MSNBC. I mean, how about CNN, right? Aren't they the leaders in truth? What about ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios? I mean, all these mainstream corporate medias, they have lost all their influence, and yet they still think that they can sit in front of a camera, look at you, and talk about how great and honest they are. They deserve everything that's happening to them.
Dig in on what Democrats are researching right now, you're going to find a lot of silly stuff. You're going to find people asking a lot of questions, people asking about syntax and do I drop the G from this word and this and that, and it's going to be a lot of that. So let me just warn everybody, that process is going to be very obnoxious for this 40-something. I would also say, we're really talking about young men, right? Young men who Democrats have not figured out a consistent pitch for how to get in front of. And I think it starts with authenticity.
It starts with authenticity. All right, I'm going to get through this. Democrats talking about authenticity. My God, if there's anything that's cost them more voters is that they've been busted lying over and over and over again. And then when they get caught lying, what do? Is they go on and they lie about how they need to lie about being authentic. And it's not even being authentic. They just think that they just need to lie better. Oh, boy. Please continue to learn nothing. I mean, it almost makes my job too easy. And they just learn nothing. Is my job to communicate is ultimately what I am as a communicator. I mean, we do the entertainment and we do the truth telling and we present you with all the facts. But at the end of the day, my job is to communicate all this to you and find an entertaining way to do it. And the Democrats on their side don't believe in that at all, because they, at the end of the day, the reason why they can't do it is because they honestly believe that they are better than you. And they honestly believe that they are smarter than you. So when they say that they're going to be more authentic, in their minds, they're not wrong. They really do believe that they are born to rule over you, that their Ivy League degrees make them smarter, make them better. So when they say that they're being authentic, what they're really saying is they need to do a better job of lying, that they need to do a better job of marketing their right ideas. Not that they need to change, right, for any of the policies. I mean, name a single society issue that the Democrats are on the right side of. Can you name a single one? There isn't one. Not the economy, not the border, not parental rights, not education, not taxes, not government, nothing. They don't have a single issue that they can run on. And the Democrats know it. So that's why they're doubling down on what they've always done, is they try to attack. whether they'll call you a racist or a homophobe or a bigot or a transphobe or white nationalist or extreme MAGA Republican, anything to try to silence you and to force you into submit to their rule. Because the Democrats, what they've really been exposed as is they are the villains. And villains always need victims. If you ever wonder why Democrats they always complain about problems, but they never ever solve them, this is the reason why. It's because if they actually did solve the problems, then you wouldn't need them anymore. That's their entire political ideology. And all the other isms go into that one single package wrapped with a nice, pretty bow. Whether it be liberalism, or it be socialism, or it be feminism, or it be the climate communism. See, that's what it all comes down to. All the left's isms, their activism, all of them come down to they are actual communists. And they believe in communism. When they look at places like China, they envy it. When they pretend to hate somewhere like Russia, they want that kind of power. They want the power that Putin has over his society. And now that we're going to go down the Russia rabbit hole right now, because we're very short on time, and I really want to get through this and talk about all this with you and finish off this story. It's amazing because they decided now that what they're going to do is that they're going to spend $20 million, as he's talking about, trying to go to the youth vote. And this is something that all the way through when I was young, when I was coming out of school, and they were going, remember the powers in the youth, I think was the saying back then, or the youth to stand up and vote, right? And is they're trying, but it never ever worked. And I think the reason why is because even with all the propaganda that's pushed through in these public education systems, I think the youth are more attuned than the older generation is. It's just for some reason they're closer to it. I don't really fully understand why, but they just kind of understand, I think, more. Whereas the mainstream media, part of why they're losing their influence is because the box that they had, their viewers are all, one, getting older now, but then two, that they're also being exposed for the liars they are thanks to independent creators. And so the middle age and the younger age generations are no longer listening to fake news anymore. Even when they hear something, they're very skeptical, and rightfully so, because they've been lied to over and over and over again. But don't worry. I mean, the New York Times is reputable, and the New York Times is going to be more authentic. And the Democrats are going to put Jasmine Crockett, and she's going to yell and scream about authenticity. Yes, please do it. Please do it. Please continue to learn nothing. We're coming up to 2026 midterms, and these are going to be a huge thing for Donald Trump's administration. As the Democrats are on the wrong side of every single issue, what I think the rhinos are much, much worse. Because the rhinos are supposed to be on our side. The rhinos are ones that are supposed to be fighting for you, meaning the Republicans, but really they are Democrats. They are straight up neoliberal Democrats that pretend to be Republicans, like the Mitch McConnells of the world. Let's see if I can grab that real quick. We got about 30 seconds left. Okay, I'm going to have to skip that clip. But you know them. You can start to name all the ones. And this is when you get frustrated, when they say all the right things in front of a camera, like the Mike Johnsons, then they go and they betray you. Like when they're lying about illegal immigrants not being on Medicaid, as they're fighting about 1.4 million, there's probably more. And then Mike Johnson tries to sneak it out of the House bill, the big, beautiful bill, to go to the Senate. And now how the Senate Republicans are refusing to vote for the big, beautiful bill. And for all the reasons they're making up, really what it is they want to lose. They want the Democrats in power because they are Democrats themselves. They don't want the fight. They don't want the problems. They want to go to Washington, D.C. They want to shake hands with other legislators. They want to pocket money from being inside, from doing all their little deals when they make a couple $100,000, and all of a sudden they're worth millions of dollars, and you're not allowed to ask why. And the big piece I had for the deep state and the Rhino Uniparty and putting all that together for you is going to have to wait for another show, because we are over again on today's show. So the rest of these stories will have to go back in the stack. And see, at the ending of live, we're now at 12,000 viewers. So thank you, everybody. I can't express enough how much this means to me from us and our team that you are continuing to support this independent work that started from zero. I just got a camera, got a microphone. Actually, when this first started, it was just an iPhone playing right out of my iPhone speaker. And those episodes will be hard to find. I might play one someday because they're so embarrassing. But this has grown from zero. This is my spare bedroom in my house that turned into a studio. And it's all just to make this about you. If a show like this is ever about me, I might as well just turn my camera off and stop. This is for you, the independent thinkers. This is for the millions and millions of Americans who think like you do, who for decades only had fake news, and they thought, well, this is weird. If I don't agree with them, but if ABC, NBC, CNN, New York Times, other times, all the others, if they're all saying the same thing, then maybe I'm the oddball. But you're not the oddball. There is nothing wrong with loving our country. There is nothing wrong with being a masculine man. There is nothing wrong with being a nurturing woman. It's a beautiful thing to have the nuclear family, mother, father, have a job or have two jobs, right? Whatever you need to make your house work, graduate high school, get married, have kids, raise those kids, have them have a good education, and then them go on to get married, have children, and spoil those grandkids. Okay, that is a beautiful thing under our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. And yes, I know I'm over. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that up right now. And we'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. And so the Memorial Day, thank you for all those that have served our country, those that paid the ultimate price. For freedom is never free. God bless. We'll see you again tomorrow. This is the Cash Loren Show. Greetings, independent thinkers. We have come to a top of another hour. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure you have subscribed, turn on notifications, but most importantly, share an American First message with your friends and family so we can help fight back against the Democrats and their propagandists over at the fake news networks. Also, take a moment to consider subscribing to us on Locals at the Cash Loren Show, where for a very small amount of money every month, you'll get many additional perks, including your name at the end of videos. I could be up the screen here in just a moment, a follow and increase engagement and exclusive lists that I use on X. That sounds interesting to you. Go over to locals.com at the Cash Loren Show, hit the subscribe button for about a cup of coffee a month, and help us stay independent and free of the fake news networks and bring you the truth every single day, just like these fine patriots have. At the end of the video, be on your screen here in just a moment.